I found a man living in my closet. He'd been there for 6 weeks, hiding behind a false wall, coming out at night while we slept, eating our food, wearing my husband's clothes, watching my 4-month-old daughter in her crib. This is what happened when we moved to New York City, and why I can never feel safe in my own home again. We moved to New York City from London 3 months ago. My husband Daniel got this incredible job offer at a hedge fund in Manhattan. The kind of money that changes your life, you know? But we had our daughter, Lily. She was only 4 months old at the time, and everyone kept saying, "Don't move a newborn. It'll mess up her development. She needs stability." But we talked about it and decided, no, we're doing this as a family. We'll make it work. So we started looking for apartments from London. And if you've never apartment hunted in New York, let me tell you, it's absolutely mental. Everything's either tiny and overpriced, or decent and wildly overpriced. We were getting discouraged. Then we found it. This beautiful 2-bedroom on the Upper West Side, West 84th Street, right between Amsterdam and Columbus. Pre-war building, high ceilings, updated kitchen, close to Central Park. The photos were gorgeous. And the price? $3,200 a month. Which for that neighborhood, for that size, that's like insanely good. Too good, honestly. But the listing said motivated seller, price to move quickly. The realtor explained that the current tenant, a guy named Mr. Chen, was relocating to California for a job. Needed someone to take over the lease immediately. We did a video tour over Zoom. Everything looked perfect. We signed the paperwork digitally, wired the deposit, and 2 weeks later we were on a flight to JFK with Lily. The apartment was exactly like the photos. Actually, it was better. Mr. Chen had even left some furniture for us. A couch, a dining table, a bed frame. The realtor said he was in such a rush he couldn't take everything. So generous of him, right? There were still some of his things in the closets. Old coats, some boxes, random stuff. The realtor said we could just donate whatever we didn't want. No rush. Daniel started his job the following Monday. I was on maternity leave, so I was home with Lily most days, setting up the nursery, getting us settled, trying to adjust to the time difference. The apartment was quiet. The building was quiet. Very New York, you know? Everyone keeps to themselves. I loved it. For the first week, I genuinely thought we'd made the right decision. This was going to be our fresh start. Then the mail started coming, addressed to David Chen. At first it was just junk. Credit card offers, utility bills, a magazine subscription. I put them in a pile by the door, thinking I'd forward them eventually. But they kept coming, every single day. And then personal mail started arriving. Birthday cards, even though his birthday had apparently passed 2 months ago. A handwritten letter from someone named Susan asking why he hadn't called her back. Was he okay? She was worried. I texted the realtor asking for Mr. Chen's forwarding address. She said, "Oh yeah, let me get that for you." Never heard back. I texted again a few days later. She said she'd ask him and get back to me. Radio silence. I figured, okay, maybe he's busy with his move. I'll deal with it later. Around week 3, I started noticing this smell. In the hallway, near the closet. Not the one in Lily's room, the other closet. The coat closet. It smelled like, I don't even know how to describe it. Musty, like old sweat and something rotting. I opened the closet to check. Just boxes. Mr. Chen's boxes. Old photo albums, tax documents, random junk he'd left behind. I kept meaning to throw them out, but I get distracted with Lily and forget. The smell got worse. Daniel noticed it too. We bought those plug-in air fresheners. Didn't help. It was strongest at night for some reason. We just kept that closet door closed and tried to ignore it. Then I started hearing sounds from that closet, late at night or early in the morning when I'd be up feeding Lily. Shuffling sounds, scratching, like something was moving around in there. I told Daniel. He opened the closet, checked with his phone flashlight. Nothing there, just boxes. He said it's probably mice. Old buildings have mice. We'd call an exterminator, but it didn't sound like mice. It was too deliberate, too rhythmic, like someone shifting their weight, standing up, sitting down. I started feeling really uneasy about that closet. One night, I woke up around 3 in the morning. Lily was crying, needed a feed. I got up, walked past the hallway closet to get to her room, and I stopped because the closet door was open, just a crack. And I know I'd closed it before bed. Actually, Daniel had installed this hook latch on the outside because the door kept swinging open from the smell. We'd latched it shut, but now it was open, and the latch was undone. From the inside, I stood there in the dark hallway, and I could see into the crack. Just darkness, but I swear I saw movement, a shift in the shadows, like something was in there, watching me. I grabbed Lily from her crib, locked us in the master bedroom, and called Daniel. He was working late, still at the office. I was trying not to panic, but I was like, "You need to come home right now. Something's wrong." He got home maybe 20 minutes later, checked the closet with a flashlight and a kitchen knife. Nothing, just boxes. But the latch was definitely undone. After that, our groceries started disappearing. Small things at first. A box of crackers I could have sworn I bought. Apples. Bottles of water. I thought I was losing my mind. New mom brain, sleep deprivation. Maybe I was just forgetting what I'd bought. But then bigger things went missing. An entire rotisserie chicken I'd bought for dinner. Just gone. Daniel actually got annoyed with me. He was like, "Did you throw it out and forget?" I hadn't. I was sure I hadn't. So I started taking photos of what was in our fridge. Every morning. Checking them at night. And things were definitely disappearing. Someone was eating our food. I showed Daniel photos. He went quiet. We both knew what that meant. Someone else was in the apartment. I'd had enough. I waited until Lily was napping and Daniel was at work. And I opened that closet, pulled out every single box, threw them in the hallway. I was so angry, so done with being scared in my own home. At the very back of the closet, I noticed the wall looked off. I pushed on it, and a whole panel moved. It was a false wall. Behind it was a space, big enough for a person to crouch in. And inside that space, there was a man. He was curled up, filthy, just staring at me with these hollow, terrified eyes. I screamed. Lily woke up crying. The man put his finger to his lips and whispered, "Shh, you'll wake the baby." His voice was so raspy, weak. And then he said, "I'm David Chen. This is my apartment." I ran, grabbed Lily, locked us in the bedroom, called the police from the hallway. I was shaking so hard I could barely hold my phone. The police came in maybe 5 minutes. They went into the closet and pulled him out. He didn't fight, didn't resist. He just looked defeated, confused. The paramedics came and took him. He was severely malnourished, dehydrated, not well. The police questioned me for hours. I showed them everything. The lease, the realtor's information, all of it. They ran David Chen's ID. Turns out, he was the actual tenant, the real tenant. But he'd been reported missing 6 months ago by his employer. They'd assumed he went back to China. But he'd been here, in the apartment, the entire time. Detectives came the next day. They interviewed us separately. And the story they put together was, honestly, horrifying. David Chen had a mental breakdown about 6 months ago. Lost his job, stopped paying rent. His family back in China thought he was doing great, thriving in America. He'd been lying to them because he was too ashamed to admit he'd failed. When the building started eviction proceedings, he didn't leave. He built that false wall in the closet, hid there during inspections. When prospective tenants toured the apartment, he'd stay completely silent behind that wall. The realtor who rented us the apartment, that was David's cousin, Peter Chen. Peter knew David was struggling, wanted to help him. So they came up with this plan. Forge documents, pretend to be the landlord, rent out the apartment illegally, and pocket our deposit and rent money. Peter would split it with David. David was supposed to stay hidden. We weren't supposed to notice him. But of course we noticed. And the detective told us everything David admitted to. He'd been living in that space for 6 months before we even moved in. When we arrived, he just stayed. He'd come out at night when we were asleep, eat our food, shower in our bathroom while we were out. He'd been wearing Daniel's clothes. He knew our entire routine. When we left, when we came home, when we slept. And then the detective said something that made me feel physically sick. He said David admitted he'd been in Lily's nursery multiple times. He'd just stand there and watch her sleep. He told the detective, "She's beautiful. I just want to see her. She reminded me of the family I wish I had." The detective tried to reassure us. He said David was harmless, mentally ill, but not violent, not dangerous. But I'd been alone in that apartment with a stranger hiding in my walls for 6 weeks. With my baby, a man I didn't know had been watching my daughter sleep, had been in her room, and I never knew. We broke the lease immediately. The real landlord, who had no idea his apartment was being illegally sublet, was horrified. He gave us our money back, less out of the contract. We moved to a doorman building in Murray Hill. Smaller apartment, way more expensive, but there's a doorman. There's security. There's cameras everywhere. It feels safe. David was hospitalized, then deported back to China. Peter was arrested for fraud. We pressed charges. They both face consequences. But it doesn't change what happened. It doesn't erase the fact that someone was living in my home, watching my family, and we had no idea. Lily's 6 months old now. She's doing great, hitting all her milestones, sleeping through the night. She doesn't know what happened. She won't remember. But I do. I can't forget. I don't sleep properly anymore. I wake up multiple times a night just to check the closets. Every closet, every closed door. I have to open them. Multiple times. Make sure no one's there. Daniel thinks I need therapy. He's probably right. But how do you explain to someone that you can't trust your own home anymore? That every shadow, every sound, every closed door feels like a threat? We live in one of the most secure buildings in Manhattan now. But I still don't feel safe. Because I know what's possible. I know that someone could be living in your walls, eating your food, watching you sleep, and you'd never know. I know that the apartment you think is safe, the home you think is yours, might not be. Someone else might be there, hiding, waiting. We move in New York for a fresh start, for opportunity, for our daughter's future. And instead, I learned that you can never really know who's in your home. You can never really be sure you're alone. I check the closets every night. All of them. I probably always will.